Yeah, that's really bad. It's pretty shit. I don't know. I probably have too broad of a range. Like, most people who are, like, grinding ranks are spamming, like, 2 builds. And I'm trying to play, like, 6 or 7. If I tighten to, like, 3 or 4, or, like, 2, or, like, 1, I'll probably be a lot easier to rank up. It'll make me a worse player, though. It's a bad feeling. I don't really like the idea of, like, becoming a worse player just to get better ranks. Isn't it bad to force builds? No. I mean, it's bad to force 1 build, but it's also bad to force more than, like, 4. Like, if you want to be a good player, you start your game, you have anywhere between 2 and 7 endgame builds in your mind in a video game, and depending on the start you go, you build whichever one of those 2 to 7 endgame builds you want, right? That's it. That's how you play the game. You can either loosen or tighten that range. You can run a range of 2, or you can run a range of like 5 or a range of 7. But that's kind of the game. And like I said, people that are like ranking up right now are playing with a range of like 2 or 3, typically. 2 to 7 endgame builds, you tunnel visioned into 1 build last game. Okay, so you're misunderstanding. Between 2 and 7 at the start of the game, that's your range of builds, and you choose one of them based on what you get at the start. That's kind of how you want to play these games optimally. So if you have a start, you can choose one of the builds based on what that start gives you, effectively, right? The question we have to ask ourselves here, the second place done feels worse than embarrassment even on round 3. The question we have to ask ourselves is, do we sell this bounty? I think we don't. I don't really mind winning a few early fights. I do probably want to turn this into a loose streak. Swim the lag versus the 2 build nits? Yeah, kind of. I wouldn't say that's a perfect analogy comparing it to like poker ranges, but sure, it works in some ways. So I didn't go open for it. If I didn't have a bounty too, I would go open for it. I think I'm okay having like a slightly slower interest gain if I open at 50 gold with the bounty level 2. That's got to be worth it in this case. But that's how you want to think about the game. Like I said, everybody has a range of anywhere between 2 and 7 builds in their head when they start playing this video game. I can just sell out of all these, right? This looks fine. And now we want to hit this interest point. So basically the objective here is to just like have 1 unit die. So we have our AM just like distracting units this way. And then we just want to kill 1 unit. We just want Bounty and Morphling to gangbang 1 unit so we can save a little bit of health here on our loose streak. Just Ogre 2? I don't want to Ogre 2. Testing more builds will inevitably lead to a worse win rate in the short term though, so you shouldn't expect to be doing amazing. Right, of course. I mean, short-term win rate is always going to be opposite strategy as long-term win rate. That's kind of my point. It's like, I don't really like the idea of just like grinding. I like the idea of trying to become a better player. That being said, I mean, playing with a really tight range and then kind of like alternating which tight ranges you play for is honestly a totally fine strategy. So the question is here, do we sell up to this next interest point and preserve the bounty? We can sell everything but the bounty. I think the bounty is going to be worth more than the Morphling. I don't know. I'm not honestly sure. It's a little suspect to do this. We might get 1 kill here, actually. Probably not. Oh, we're good. Health preserved. I just ranked up to Big Boss 2 thanks to all your advice, and I feel you. I like experimenting, but now I feel compared to tighten up I feel compelled to tighten up my game. Yeah, basically. Doesn't a trite range help you understand transition options better? What do you mean? I don't know. If it was a Bloodseeker instead of a Bounty, which is something I'm more inclined to actually try to take to level 3. Bounty level 3 is probably not that amazing, right? Not ever punished. Patch silver lining is 2 gold. The patch is active on my client, so it should be 1 gold. The bug is fixed. Buy the SF now, you get the interest anyway. You don't really want to be doing that. There's no reason. Like, we're playing for the lose streak. We're playing effectively open fort. Even though we're like running a 2-star unit. We're just basically trying to maximize our interest while we lose. There's no reason to like buy units that don't do anything. Tusk, Enchantress, and Treant all have the ability to possibly help us win against the creep rounds. And at this point, we're missing every additional interest point up until the creep round. So we can buy stuff like Morphling and Tree that can help us like fight the mud golems. This is okay, for example. We are gonna have to take the bounty off of our board here, though. Put 1 thing in, and take the bounty off. In case that guy's watching, he might have put 1 thing in, but probably not. Okay, so we gave this guy a draw because he queued into our empty board that we took off. Doesn't really do anything to him, I guess, but basically, if we queue into him, we can't afford to have a unit on our board right now because there's another person open forting. Does he have a silver lining? Nope, he's rocking 3 brooches. Mage picker detected. Holy shit. This guy's gonna win this game. He's open forting with 3 brooches and he's just benching CM. So theoretically, it's not impossible we could bait him into putting a unit on the board. If we just add units. It probably won't work, but I might as well try, right? Didn't queue into him anyway. So theoretically, I mean, you might as well do this sometimes. If he's watching my board, which he is, open forters look at other people's boards. They have to. If he's watching my boards, he might be like, okay, he's putting units in. Now I can put in like 2 or 3 units to preserve maybe a little bit of health. But he's not that dumb. It doesn't really work on good players. We can just like buy up some stuff. So the most important thing about these strategies is that on round 10, you want to make sure you are able to beat mud golems, which can be a little bit tricky sometimes. I'm gonna make sure we have like the primordial units active. 3 primordial units with assassins look pretty good. We want to make sure we're hitting this interest point. So we've got each primordial unit is just going to disarm things, and we've got 3 assassins that are giving us like a bit of DPS with their level 2 bounty and blightstun. So this might be a little. Ooh, if bounty dies, maybe we lose. Nah, we're fine. It's like, I feel like we actually got a little bit unlucky at the start. If we got a disarm earlier, it wouldn't have even been very close. But it was actually like almost losable there. Would you still open fort if you didn't have silver lining? Yes, it's a good strategy. play an open board. Oh, this guy is actually putting units on. Not uncommon. At like rounds 11 or so, this is kind of the point where a lot of people feel like it's okay to actually like start putting some units in. Since I have Silver Lining, it's a little earlier than I'd like. What point do you start to go for wins? So it should be typically around round 16 at the latest. Anywhere between like 13 and 16, depending on like if you have Silver Lining or not, I guess. 2 Sand Kings. That's okay. At this point in time, I do actually think that if I accidentally win, it's kind of okay. I'd like to stop losing health. Now that he's actually like, he's doing it too. I think this is like, if I can save myself a little bit of health, it's worth it. Because it's not like the worst thing in the world if I accidentally break my streak here. Earlier, if like on rounds like 8 or 9, if you accidentally break your streak, especially with Silver Lining, it's really bad. But as you can see, like, so a lot of people ask, like, why not put units in? You're gonna reduce your health damage. Like, it's so hard to even kill a single thing. Like, did you see that board? Fights in this game are really snowbally. When you lose a fight, you usually lose by, like, at very, very least, like, 2/3 of their board's worth of units, right? Like, you might kill 1 or 2, but you're not really saving yourself very much health, and you're risking breaking your streak, which is game losing. I don't know. Saving the Bounty Hunter was probably not worth it, though, I guess. We're going to be breaking our streak a little late here. Partially because we have Silver Lining. DK? I don't really like DK in Assassins, guys. He got nerfed, guys. Big Boss 3 is so hard. Yeah. It's a decent amount harder than Big Boss 1 or 2. Big Boss 1 is super easy. Big Boss 2 is like fairly easy. And Big Boss 3 is actually like, you kind of have to be a good player to get to Big Boss 3. But Big Boss is basically where the ranked system starts. We can like natural level to 7 here. We want to find a naturally good pack. Leveling during the round itself is kind of important if you want to find like a higher level pack off the start of the next one, basically. So this is going to help us a little bit. It's a little too early to do anything weird. So we could have gone 6 elves. So the weird thing is, in a lot of situations, you don't want to roll until you don't want to often be rolling until you're level 8 to stabilize. But here, we've lost a bit too much health. We're at the point where we want to start winning boards. 40 health is, I think, like, a rule of thumb I'd give. 40 health is where health becomes a resource, and you have to actually, like, respect it. And because we're so close to this power spike that is 6 Assassins, 6 Assassins is this gigantic power spike compared to 3. You do triple the increased DPS from 3 Assassins to 6. So, it's very important to get that online. Like this. Now we've kind of hit our power spike. We can chill for a bit. I mean, if we find Pocket Sand on this pack, I'm feeling very happy. If we don't, I'm feeling a little sad. Assassins now have inherent synergy with Embarrassment of Riches because they're very tribal global dependent. Any tribe that really needs a global is like, you want Embarrassment of Riches on that. That being said, Embarrassment is just generally good, so you really just, you can't really go wrong with just having it, I guess. I mean, I think there's just not really a new way to play this. If we find Pocket Sands, I feel like I gotta be looking at a pretty good game. Like, 3rd place at least. If I don't. I'm not sure how good Loose Streak Assassin's into, like, Loose Streak for Assassins when we commit with, like, the Gondar in the way that we did. Might be kind of shitty. So we got a bunch of complete garbage. We can't use any of this nonsense. They need to rework this item system. But we're gonna have to go with Druids. Here's another Bounty Hunter. Here's another Bloodseeker. So I think it's still a little bit early to do anything crazy here. We just want more level 2s. And then we can replace with the Queen of Pain. There we go. Co-op's better than Bloodseeker? Yeah, Bloodseeker and Viper are both basically useless. I want to see exactly how useless the Druid item is in this comp. I think it's quite bad, but it isn't literally useless. It has a function. Yeah, my cooldown's too long. So here we go. We go for the natural level here on 17 to 8. This is how we have to play this Loose Streak. We're going to natural level up to 8. Once we're 8, we put in 2 Druids to complete Druids with the Assassins. Take out the superfluous Gondar, because now we just want one of each Assassin. Here's the Slark, and here's where we roll down to try to stabilize, basically. So now we can fix up our items a little bit. Here's a Bloodseeker 2 over a Slark 1, I guess. This is looking pretty good. So we have a fairly basic start. We've got, as we can see, 29 gold. I think we're winning this. We should start win streaking at this point.
Basically,
like our board just came online in a major way. Now we can turn this into a win streak. So we're hitting the 30 gold interest. We've got 2 Slarks benched, and we're ready to kind of curve back into Slark. We hit like the power spike we wanted. We're pairing beasts or savage units with Enchantress and Sand King. And we'll get Elves online or Elusives with Treant, Phantom Assassin, and Templar Assassin. The Templar Assassin will replace either our Bounty Hunter or our Bloodseeker. I don't think his units are staying on the board for that long. Slark is going to be like a necessary part of the comp. The one thing we regret is we don't have like an attack speed item for him. Really important to have Mask of Madness if you want this build to kind of unlock its full potential. I think at this point we might be able to chill for a little bit. We're not really close to outs. Everything on our board just hit level 2. The biggest out for us right now would be like Lone Druid or Templar Assassin. Keep in mind, outs are not just completing things that you're looking for. And here we can sell the Viper for this interest point. Outs are not just completing things you're looking for that you already have. It's also like things that upgrade your board. So like Enchantress 1 for Lone Druid 1 is an out. Or TA 1 for like even Bloodseeker 2 is an out, I think. Because TA completes Elusive with Treant and PA, so it's worth it over level 2. And that's also just good. So I'm feeling safe and stable here after that power spike. And now I can feel like I can play for interest again. We're win streaking. I don't think there's a board that beats me. There might be like 1 out of these 7 boards might have a solid chance at beating me, but either way, I'm feeling very comfortable here. So now we kind of curve back into interest for a few rounds, probably until 21. Again, you want to time your rules down with these like creep rounds, typically right after the creep round. Yo, King of Barbies. Hey man, how's it going? Welcome back to the 1/8 Gay Club, buddy. Okay, so the question we have to ask ourselves is like, what best improves our board? Again, we feel fine right now. I'm not going to waste my money on anything silly in this case, I think. I can step back this Enchantress 1 step, just because we have the Blade Mail and the Treant, so I don't really mind him being a little bit more focused. Something like that's fine. Really looking for Pocket Sand on 20. Without Pocket Sand, Assassins kind of suck. I mean, they don't suck, but they don't feel great. So this is a really good example of how you need to play Silver Lining. I think we could have stabilized our streak a little bit earlier than we did. We might, like, a little bit more optimally, we might be at like 40 health instead of 36, but it's fine. Like, You want to like stabilize very quickly and swiftly, and then once you're stable, you start saving for economy again, right? Like you hit that power spike, and it's a huge power spike, by the way. It's hard to express how much powerful my board got in like 1.5 rounds. When we got the level 8, when we got 6 assassins, like almost all of them being level 2, 2 druids pairing beasts. Like our board literally like tripled up in terms of power. We can start working on Sand 3 and Treant 3. Assassins need like multiple 3 stars to be good, basically. And Treants, now that Druids work the way they do, Treant being like a 3 star is actually a neat thing for your board. Rip. Vanguard is pretty good for Assassins. I don't mind this. Vanguard feels very great for like, you know, the method of playing here. So we can just do this. I think Blade Mail on Bloodseeker works pretty fine. If Blade Mail picks up the kill, it sources it to Bloodseeker. We got the Slark and the TA. These are pretty big buffs. Slark right now can replace the level 1 Bounty Hunter, I think. Whereas the TA wants to replace the Bloodseeker, which means Blade's Mail wants to go on someone else. In this case, actually no, Slark. So the question is, what is the next way to spend our gold? So I can tell you right now, we still don't really want to spend our gold. I'm pretty happy with where we are at now. So what is the next best way to improve our board by spending our gold? Do we roll or do we level? And this is like the fundamental nature of the end game. Anything after round 20 is just like you always have to be asking yourself, okay, roll or level? And here it's round 21, so what are we thinking? We could go to 9. And we could put in like a, you know, another level 2 assassin. That's not useless. What are we looking for if we're rolling? We're looking for more TAs and a lone druid. I think a lone druid is a pretty big deal. Slark should have Blightstone. Blightstone no longer stacks per attack. They fixed that bug. So here's a bounty hunter. That actually improves my outs in a fairly substantial way. I think my outs are a little bit better if I roll a bit right now. I would like at least like 1 lone druid. I think my outs are good enough to dictate rolling for just a little bit. There's the second Templar Assassin, and we can easily just get out of the Sinking Dream. I think that's fine. Bloodseeker 3 looks like it's not happening. If I complete TA or lone druid, then maybe I'll go to 9 at that point. So as you can see, now that we've power spiked and it's been like 5 rounds since we power spiked, boards are starting to catch up to us. Things are getting a little bit close-ish. It's a little spooky. It's a Treant. Not looking for Enchantress really at all. This is slightly sad. It took us a while to get anywhere. We didn't find a second Gondar. Spent a lot of gold just to find 1 lone druid. Now we're on another out, so now we roll harder. We need to complete up to the lone druid, basically. And there's the TA, so now one of our outs just got diminished. We need to buy the tree, basically. Bloodseeker 3 and PA 3, I think we can dismiss as non-options here. So I think we can probably just chill. If I want to sell the Quap and the Bloodseeker up to interest, I think that's fine. The Queen of Pain was basically not happening at this point either. As we can see, we upgraded our board. People are kind of creeping up on us in terms of power, but in chance for Lone Druid plus Templar Assassin leveling up is a bit of additional power for us. Blightstone should not be on Sanking. We want to equip this to TA instead. We can do it during the fight. It doesn't change the item during the fight, but it'll like queue it up. So when you see your items are off, it's a good idea to mix them up during the fight. And I think here we can even put Blade Mail on like Lone Druid. He wants to be a step back. Again, Vanguard just makes it like so good to have our solo tank just be kind of up here. With maybe Lone Druid taking a bit of side tank. He would be behind, but he's here. So now we're on another out. Look, we're finding outs. So this is how you have to think about rolling versus leveling. This entire time, I haven't really wanted to keep rolling, but because I keep finding stuff that I happen to be so close to completing up, like now we're 1 treant away from a really big upgrade. We're 2 Gondars away still, I think. And we basically need to be rolling down. We're 1 lone druid away, right? So it's like, you have to respect what your rolls are giving you, right? Because like, we were about to stop rolling when we found the second lone druid. And now it's like, well, we got to keep rolling because we're looking for the level 2 Lone Druid. And we were about to stop rolling, and now it's like we found the 8th Treant, so now we definitely have to keep rolling, right? It's like you have to decide what you want to do with your money based on what your rolls are actually giving you. And like, if we complete both of these before finding the 8th Bounty Hunter, then we'll maybe level to 9. But if we find the 8th Bounty Hunter, then complete one of these, well, we're still looking for another big out, right? So that's kind of how you have to think about it. So this is round 25, so I shouldn't be spending gold here. We can chill for just the creep round, right? Like I said, we're out of these dreams. Medusa's going to be fine. This hero is going to be the 9th hero we're going to add in to help us beat these mages. It's the mage comps that are doing the best against us. Notably, this guy, our fellow loose streaker, you can see here, he's stabilized at 19, a little bit lower than us. These two mage players are stable, and that's getting a little spooky. So Medusa level 2, pairing up with the Slark to complete up to Naga is going to be a good way to improve this board. TA just wants to carry the item Blightstone. It doesn't really matter who it's on, it just matters it's on a survivable target. And we're going to start rolling down now, because if we find something we want, there's the Bounty Hunter. So now our rolls are good. Okay. Pot committed? Yes, it's very similar to being pot committed in poker. So now there's Lone Druid, there's Medusa. So Medusa gives, Lone Druid takes away one out at the same time as Lone Druid gives us another out, right? Think about it like that. We're not looking for 3 stars of these. Here's a BKB, which I think is going to help our win condition against these mages, but I'm not going to do it yet. Here's Bounty Hunter. This removes another out, but I think we're still so close to this Treant out that we actually can't level here. Now, that being said, that's debatable, because now it seems like my lose condition is against mages. So we've completed 2 outs. The Lone Druid is big. Now that he's 2 stars, he can step up forward. He's going to be 3 stars half of the time, which makes him really good. We can put the BKB on the big chunky boy. And now that Bounty Hunter is in, I can take out one of my other units. In this case, I think it can just be the Morphling, I guess. And I don't think we need this anymore. And now suddenly, the question is, are we still rolling or leveling? Did we complete enough? We had 3 things we were looking for. We were looking for Lone Druid, Treant, and Bounty. We completed 2 of those. And now suddenly, the way this board improves is it needs a Naga. We're at the point of the game where we're actually scared of mage comps. We're most scared of mage comps, and we need the Naga. What are we looking for rolling right now? Roll until Medusa level 2? No. That's a good question. I want to make this point. Medusa is not an out, because Medusa can't fit onto our board until we are level 9. And if we're going to look for Medusa, we should do it after we level to increase the odds. So Medusa can't be an out to this board. And that's really important to understand. So now, we want to roll down to 9. The question is, when do we do it? Do we burn through interest? Well, we're on a big streak. We're at the point where mages are very scary. And I think this is totally fine to aggressively burn through interest for. So we're down to 25 gold interest, which is okay. I'm going to go ahead and sell this Morphling at this point. We're never using this again. 29 interest means if we win, we're up to 30, feeling pretty good. So here's the mage comp. I think these are the only 2 boards that beat us right now. So we've got our Nagas paired, and suddenly Medusa is now an out. Now we're back to 2 outs. So now we're thinking to ourselves, okay, we're looking for Chi or we're looking for Dusa. The question is, do we need to econ before doing that? And I feel on top again. I feel like I can econ here. While we do want to roll, while we're looking for 2 big outs, I still feel totally fine with econing this, because I'm pretty sure I can't be beat right now, right? So again, these late game scenarios, it's like a braid. I was saying this yesterday. You've got like 3 things to do with your money. It's like econ, rolling, or leveling. So you need to be thinking to yourself, okay, you're kind of like overlapping them and twisting them together. And it's like, what do I want to do at any given time? Am I on top? I feel like the only way we were losing was to mages, and now with not only Naga, but BKB. Honestly, if we hadn't found the BKB, I would probably roll here. I think I can econ a little bit. This might be a little greedy. You know what? Let's roll. We're just until we find like one of our things. If we're on 2 outs, we can roll a little bit. That's pretty funny. Okay. I was going to roll until I found one of the outs and then stop rolling. That was my plan. Because if we're on 2 outs, it's probably worth the money to roll from a probabilistic standpoint. It's just poker logic, right? That's what outs comes from. It's just like, is it worth the probability to roll down? If we found 1, we were gonna take it, stop rolling. Because rolling for 1 out is not good. In this spot, if we're on a streak, if we're winning the boards, rolling for 2 outs is probably worth it. It's 2 big outs too, by the way. Not every out is the same size. Like a Treant upgrade to 3 means we get the Lone Druid guaranteed to 3, which is a big deal. And the Medusa upgrade is also really nice, right? So now, the 2 outs, it's not just that we had 2 outs, it's that we had 2 big outs. We were on a streak. Our health is still a little low. I do think it was possible to lose one of those boards. So I think I did decide at the end there to roll a bit. We misplayed. We waited too long to start rolling. We got a little bit lucky at the end. And now, as always, when you reset, the question you have to ask yourself is, what's the next step for this board? How does this board get stronger? And you guys know the answer to this. This one's easy. It's level to 10. That's it. Do you play poker? Yeah, for a bit. I'm not super good. I spent like a month trying to learn the game. Like and this is part of the reason that I haven't been streaming as much. I took some time off of streaming in the last 6 months to basically just study poker, because I think it's really interesting and the concepts are very transferable to other games, but I'm not like a pro player or anything like that. So basically, again, the next step, you guys know this, the next step is leveling to 10. So obviously round 30, we're just playing for interest here. The question is, what do we want on our board? What's the 10th unit that makes this board the best? What do you guys think? The 10th unit that makes this board the best. It's kind of a trick question, actually. Tide? Tide's terrible. Tide is super bad, guys. A Tide level 2 would be good. Tide level 1 is quite bad. Kanka's not bad. Kanka's not bad at all. Enigma is okay.
I'm basically 1/8 gay.
Wait, Tide is bad? Sort of. There's an asterisk. Yo, no lie, 93. Welcome to the 1/8 gay club. So let me clarify what I mean when I say Tide is bad. Now, this is actually an interesting one. Radiance versus Daedalus. I have a big chunker against mages. Daedalus is good. Or Dagon even. That's a tough one. I feel like I'm like maybe losing to mages. I have like huge dudes. I have like a guaranteed level 3 tree, right? So suddenly that wants the Radiance. Suddenly this wants the Vanguard now. And then suddenly the Blade Mail can just go on some big boy in back, I guess. I'm not sure. So the correct answer, again, this is kind of a trick question. The correct answer is basically like level 2, whatever level 2 we find is the answer. It's like level 2 Kunkka if we find it. Level 2 Enigma if we find it. Level 2 Tidehunter if we find it. Doesn't matter what unit it is. Disruptor? Sure. Disruptor probably, I guess. Another level 2 Templar Assassin. Honestly, that's an acceptable answer as well. We might as well have that as an option. And it even opens up some... I'm not losing to this, am I? Yeah, good. I would have been really, really tilted if that level 3 Slark just ass pulled the win against my 7 units. Pretty much as I said, CC. Yeah, basically. But it needs to be level 2. So the reason I said Tide is bad, there's a very specific reason that Tide is a worse hero than Medusa or Kunkka. It's really, really singular. The reason is because he's really hard to get to level 2. Because he's legendary. And he's really shitty unless he's level 2. If you have a Vip Booster or a Scotty, he can get his ult off a little bit easier. But it's really hard unless he's level 2. And so I say, for example, I can say the phrase Medusa is a better hero than Tide. I think that phrase is true in general. It's important to understand what I mean by that. A level 2 Tide is better than a level 2 Dusa. And a level 1 Tide might be better than a level 1 Dusa. But Medusa's like literally 6 or 7 times easier to actually get to level 2. Right? The odds of actually getting it there. Am I getting fingered? Oh, streak goes down. So there was a call to just blow our load to go to level 10 here and try to protect our streak instead of playing for interest. It's possible that would have helped there. It's mages, so like adding one more unit in might not actually do anything at all. So now what, guys? What do you think? We just lost. What are we going to do now? Imminent need CC now? So I think the natural response to a lot of people is like, uh-oh, we just lost the board. Let's level. It's very much the opposite. Because we just lost the board, it means we're not queuing it to the same guy we lost against. And we don't have a streak to protect now, right? Which means there's less reason to do that at the same time. Okay, we're losing to this guy too. Because we're not playing for the streak, we need to play for at least a little bit of interest. I think I can take like, can I natural level this? Because now I want to level. Tied for scaled? I already have 2 scaleds. We're not really using anything here at all. We can try something like this. Not sure. It's like, in that exact specific case, if I'm like looking at other people's boards, that might be a bad example of what I'm trying to say. So you guys are right. Like, maybe in that specific case, I'm supposed to level there aggressively. That's definitely possible. You can't really tell without looking at boards. But the point I'm making is that when you lose, a lot of people, your natural instincts are gonna not serve you very well in this game. It's like, because of how streaking works and because of how outs work when you're rolling for outs, it's kind of like when you roll down and you don't find what you're looking for, a lot of people's instinct is to like stop rolling after a certain point. Like, they want a stop loss function, right? They want to be like, okay, if I roll for 20 gold, I'm going to stop rolling. And that's kind of backwards. It can be, at least. It can be backwards. Because usually when you roll for 20 gold and you don't find what you're looking for, you usually are increasing your outs. You're usually finding like a second copy of something else you're benching, and then you have one more out, so rolling is even better. And it's the same exact thing as being like pot committed in poker. Like, at that point, you have to keep rolling, even though your instincts are going to tell you to stop. Because if you stop, then it's the worst of both worlds, right? Or it's like in this case, when I lose a fight, and like I'm thinking, okay, I've got to make my board stronger. Maybe that's true. I think in this case it might have been true, but in general, it's not going to be true. In general, once you've lost the fight, it's suddenly, okay, playing for the board matters less because I'm not playing for, I'm suddenly not playing for interest, right? So playing for the board is going to matter a little bit less. And Blade Mail should charge my mana, right? Should. Because once I've lost my streak and get knocked down, A, I can't queue into the same opponent again, so I'm not really worried about losing again. And B, I've lost my streak, so suddenly I have to play for interest. I can't just like lose and then spend my gold. That's the opposite of what you want to do normally. Again, there are exceptions, these are generalizations, but that's how I would think about it. Blade Mail charges mana, what? Does it not? Damage, I guess it probably wouldn't charge mana. Because item damage in this game, I guess, doesn't charge mana, right? In auto chess, like, item damage and spell damage charged mana, but it feels like it does a lot less in this game. So here, we're heads up against this, this is a Dragon's Knights kind of boy. I don't think there's too much fancy we can do with positioning. Typically, we want to spread out our pocket assassins as much as possible. He's on the left side, which means he's going to be on the right side. We want our vanguards to be like first and foremost on the tank spectrum here. So this positioning is going to do a little bit better, basically. Spreading out these units as much as possible will spread out the pocket sand debuff. We want some things starting on this side so that they're going to blink over here, and then the Treant wants to be kind of walking forward while the Lone Druid is taking as much aggro as possible. If you were watching the Lone Druid in that fight, the position we had him in was very important. We had the Vanguard on him. We had him main tank. He was our main tank, right? He got attacked by like a Gorillion things. He blocked a shit ton of damage with Vanguard, and he cast his bear right before dying. That's perfect. That's exactly what we want to have happen there, right? Look at this position. He's like main tanking. We know the opponent's like boxed in this corner here. Oh, he actually won on his board. Wow. So let's see exactly what this looks like. So this guy doesn't really have mages. I think our bounty doesn't really need the BKB in this case. I think our bounty could maybe be served better if it had something more like the blade mail. Maybe this works. I don't think he changed his positioning at all. So again, Lone Druid main tanking with Vanguard. He wants to attract as much aggro as possible. Because this hero's entire function is to cast a spell early as possible, hopefully, and then die. And even more so with completing the cycle, he wants to die early. It's very important, right? So we put a Vanguard on him, we put him in the main tank slot, so he's attracting almost all of the AoE. You saw Enigma was picking up some attacks here because of his positioning, which is also good. Ideally, we want Lone Druid to be attacked by like 6 or 7 dudes, and Enigma gets attacked by like 1 or 2 dudes, right? That's basically the perfect split. Lone Druid like feeds, Vanguard chunks a shit ton of damage, he's guaranteed level 3, procs completing the cycle, summons the bear nice and early, the damage he's taking is actually fueling his mana. What is happening on this guy's... Yeah, this is 2 damage. Sorry, buddy. Okay, so this positioning does pretty well against him. It's really hard for him to stop this at this point of the game. There's this idea of basically which board is kind of more movable. The thing is, he couldn't really do anything about that, right? Like, all we have to do is move 1 unit. All we have to do is move Lone Druid in front of his entire comp. And then if he like wants to respond to that, he has to move all like 9 units across to the other side. There's no way he can do that. Like, I didn't even really necessarily outplay him there. Like, he didn't have a chance to like see my Lone Druid positioning and be like, oh shit, I've got to move all 9 units. He literally can't do that. Because all my board needs to do is main tank with Lone Druid and like side tank. You want something like Enigma to take a little bit of damage. Because it is really important to get it off. He's Knights, so the Enigma pure damage is really important. But I don't want to get anything stun locked. I just want to cast it nice and early, right? I will say, I did like what that Druid perk did for us that game. I kind of complained about it earlier when I saw it in that pack, in that game. It actually felt fairly good. It might be better in Assassins than I guess I feel like. I don't know. It was okay. That game was super informative. Yeah, I don't know, dude. I'm weird. I get into like moods. Like sometimes I just feel like fucking memeing. And sometimes I feel like actually being a good streamer.